G'day, I'm Peter, and this is a video mainly for my wonderful loyal subscribers to this channel. If you're new here, welcome, thanks for dropping by, but this video might not be for you. This video might be a little bit boring for you if this is your first time here. If you'd like to watch something a little bit more interesting, I recommend looking at some of my landscape and car photography videos on this channel. But if you stick around, it'd be nice to have you here anyway. So what I want to cover in this video is a few things. I want to cover, first off, I've got some notes here in front of me because I don't want to waste your time and I don't want to waffle. I want to talk about why I started this channel, what has changed, because some things have changed, what's coming. I'd like to give away some things and sell some things very cheap, ranging from some very high quality filters from K&F Concept, some microphones, stereo recorder, which I've used all of twice, another one here which I love, the little H1N, things like that. So we'll get to that a little bit later on. I want to talk to you about my new little love affair camera, the Leica D-LUX 8, gorgeous little thing. I actually just finished recording a video the other day about another product where I mentioned this D-LUX at the end of that video. So I'm sorry if you get to that video in 2 weeks' time and it's repetitive. I want to talk about some of my favourite lenses that I've used with the Hasselblad X2D. I've been through a range of lenses now, many of them actually off-brand lenses from Voigtlander, TT Artisan and Leica. So starting off at the beginning, I started this channel a few years ago after a friend of mine passed away, and for some reason it compelled me to pick up my camera and just go for a long drive. And in that experience, I was reminded quite dramatically just how much I enjoyed being out in the landscape with my camera. I so enjoyed it that I continued to do that pretty much every day for weeks after John's passing, until eventually I decided that it would be nice to actually share this rediscovery of my love of landscape photography with other people through a YouTube channel. Before then, I'd had a number of blogs. I'd had a podcast where I recorded over 100 episodes. So I'd been writing and recording material for quite some time, but I'd never really done anything on video. So I thought I'd jump in the deep end and have a crack at doing that. And at first it was very challenging. It continues to be challenging in different ways, but I get an enormous amount of satisfaction from it. And so I'm going to continue with it. I was watching a Nick Carver video the other day on his, he had 3 different anniversaries he was celebrating. That was a catch-up video. And he said he'd been doing YouTube for 11 years at that point, and he was going to be doing another 11, then another 11, and so on. And I suspect it might be the same for me because I find it very satisfying, very rewarding. So anyway, that's how I started. And then over time, it evolved. And I started getting more interested in filming and talking about and photographing cars again, because I used to photograph cars for a living, for car magazines. I did that for many, many years and found it enormously satisfying. And my style of photography was a bit different to others in that I loved landscape photography as a young boy. So wherever possible, I try to incorporate car photography with landscape photography. So in many cases, the landscape and the environment in which I photographed cars was just as important as the car itself. I didn't want to just take pictures of cars. I wanted to take beautiful pictures of cars in beautiful environments. So I've kind of returned a bit to that now, and I'm really enjoying that. The challenge, of course, is getting access to a variety of interesting cars to photograph. So more often than not, I find myself resorting to taking photos of my Porsche Boxster, which was my second midlife crisis car that I got in late 2022. And it's been a huge amount of fun, that car. I absolutely love that machine. And after driving a current model Porsche 911, I'm convinced that I made the right choice to buy the Boxster. It's tremendous. So I've sort of transitioned more into going back to what I used to love doing when I did photography for a living, and that's photographing landscapes and cars, sometimes together, sometimes separately. But more often than not, if I shoot a car, I like to shoot a car in the landscape. Another change that's occurred, which has kind of been beyond my control, is for my son's first 7 years of schooling, his school was literally at the end of our street. It was a 3-minute walk. So it had very little impact on my day. I could sleep in later and I could pick him up in 10 minutes and then be off and do some photography. I can't do that anymore. Not very often at all, because unfortunately, even though we applied for our preferred school for my son 6 years before he finished junior school, his name did not rise up fast enough to the top of the list to get him into that school in time for the intake for year 7. So we did a mad scramble to find a decent school for him sort of at the 11th hour. And we ended up at a very good school when, like all the others, they said, sorry, we're full, but send us Tommy's grades from the previous year. And if we're happy with those, we'll get him to sit a 2-hour test. And if we're happy with that, then we'll make a position for him. So all of that happened, and they did. And now I have to spend about 3.5 hours to 4 hours a day taking him to and from school. So that's kind of ruined my mornings and ruined my afternoons. So that's why you see a lot more of me in here, in my office, in my studio, filming videos now, interwoven with B-roll of me out shooting. But the whole act of actually shooting a whole video to camera out in the landscape is a lot more difficult now than it used to be. So that's why you see a lot more of me indoors now. As soon as Tommy gets out of school, as soon as he's finished with that, you can bet your ass I'll be back out there a lot more than what I was even in the beginning. Okay, what I hope to be doing in the next 10 years or so? Well, I hope to continue to do this. I want to continue to talk about the things that I think can have a positive impact on people in my age group. I'm in my 50s. And one of the top ones in that list of things that I think are valuable, apart from the basics of good physical health and good relationships and getting your finances in order and all that sort of stuff, and I've talked about that before, one of the best things you can do for yourself is to spend more time outside. And a lot of us struggle to find a reason to do that because we're so fixed on outcomes and KPIs and measuring the benefits of what we do. And unfortunately, it's very hard to measure the benefits of good mental health and good emotional health, I guess. Landscape photography and outdoor photography, car photography, these things all give us an excuse. Macro photography, wildlife photography, all those things give us a great excuse to spend time outdoors. And so that's what I've advocated for since pretty much the beginning, is that the benefits of getting into outdoor photography far outweigh the sort of short-term buzz that you get from looking at a bunch of nice photos that you're proud to have taken. And so that's what I have focused on a great deal. And I want to do more of that. I want to keep doing that. And I want to expand the value that I can deliver through that. One of the ways that I'm planning to do that is I'm already working on what I'm calling a car photography field guide. It's a small booklet, I guess you could call it, but in digital form that is designed to fit on a mobile device. So you can have it with you at all times when you're out taking photos of cars, whether it's just for your own pleasure, shooting your own car or friends' cars, or it's something that you want to do commercially. It's a great little sort of a cheat sheet, but in a small digital booklet form. So I'm working on that at the moment. And if that gets a satisfactory result, I guess, and people like it and they enjoy it and they get value from it, then I may well expand that into a workshop, which I've also been sort of building the framework of in the background. But I would love to continue to make videos for the next few decades if I can. Okay, now on to this gorgeous little thing. This little camera only arrived a week ago. I took it up to my dad's house in the Victorian High Country last weekend, the weekend just passed, and I was absolutely thrilled with the kind of results I was able to get from this little thing. It's only a micro four thirds sensor with 17 available megapixels, even though it's a 20 megapixel sensor. Fabulous little 24 to 75 mil fixed on the camera zoom lens, power zoom lens. It's a fabulous little camera with full manual controls when you want them. So you can adjust your aperture on the lens. You can manually focus it. You've got shutter speed adjustment in the top here. You can set your ISO, or you can just run it aperture priority, shutter priority, or full manual. The autofocus on it is fast enough. It shoots surprisingly good macro images. You can switch it across to macro here on the side of the lens, or you can switch it across to full manual focus. You can change the format from 3x2 to 16x9 to 1:1 and 4x3. So you can even change the format that it records images in. It shoots raw DNG files, so great for editing in Photoshop or Lightroom. It's just a beautiful device. And despite what some people will tell you, this is no longer a Panasonic camera. This is a fully blown Leica camera. Yes, it's made in China, like my iPhone, like a whole bunch of other things that are made in China that are very high quality. But it is Leica's own design, this one now, and there will not be a Panasonic version of this from what I'm told. So I'm absolutely loving this thing. Despite the fact that I dropped the lens cap with a filter on a walk out the back of my dad's place, and someone somehow managed to drive over it with a four-wheel drive, thus ruining my $100 Leica lens cap. So I've just got a K&F concept one on here, and that'll do fine. I'll put a polarizer on it, and that's it. And the colours out of this are magnificent. I know that the Leica colours are revered, like the Hasselblad colours, and I didn't expect much out of this little Micro Four Thirds camera, but the colours out of this are just gorgeous. Mind you, I shoot in black and white quite a bit with this too, which I love. Okay, on to future videos. After this one will be one about a product very similar to what I've owned over the last 10 years, but a significant advance on that product and its capabilities. I won't tell you what it is, but it allowed me to have an espresso out in the bush the other day, which was very indulgent and quite unique. So I really enjoyed that. I've got some videos coming up about lenses, particularly the Hasselblad 35-75. I'm going to be doing a video about that. That's a spectacular lens. I've also recently gotten a macro lens for my Canon R6 Mark II, which is filming me at the moment. I tried that out over the weekend up at my dad's place, along with a cheaper solution for shooting macro with the R6 and a cheap solution for shooting macro with the X2D. And that lens is spectacular and it's unbelievably cheap. I was really impressed. The build quality is exceptional. The results that it delivers are as good as anything that I've ever used. And I've used Canon EF, the EF 100mm L lens, macro L lens. To me, it was just as good as that. So I'm looking forward to sharing a video about that. And there's going to be a whole video on doing macro on the cheap, and it'll go through those options of the cheap option for the R6 Mark II, then the macro lens, and the cheap option for the Hasselblad. I can't show you the expensive option because I'm not going to spring up the dough for Hasselblad's macro lens, but I don't think you need it because the results I got out of this with a cheap option work beautifully. Also, I'm going to be putting some more new bits on my Porsche Boxster, thanks to William Chen over at Rennmeister. He's been incredibly generous with the products that he's sent across to me over the last year or so, and I've really enjoyed working with William on demonstrating those products on the Porsche and advocating for them because they're very good quality. I've been very, very impressed. And the feedback I've had from other people who've gone on to purchase the steering wheel, the LED strip, and a few other bits and pieces, they're very, very happy with them. So there's more of those coming very soon. And with the weather finally starting to improve here, although we've had 2 days of extremely volatile weather. I was on the freeway yesterday and we literally had to slow down to 10 kilometers an hour because the rain was godlike. It was just phenomenal. There was water going over the roofs of cars. It was just extraordinary. So we've had 2 days of really volatile thunderstorms, but today has been beautiful. And I think from now on, the weather's going to get a lot more pleasant. So as the weather improves, I want to get out and do some more car photography videos. So you can expect to see more of those coming soon. And in those videos, I'm going to share some more tips about how I photograph cars and how you might get some better results photographing cars yourself. As I mentioned, I'm going to talk about some of my favorite lenses. So far with the Hasselblad, I've used the 45p, which was great. I've used the 80mm f1.9, which was absolutely spectacular. But I desperately wanted something a little bit more flexible and I didn't want to change lenses so often. So I sold the 80 and I got the gorgeous 35-75, which is pretty much perfect for me. I mean, it's a brute of a lens. It's heavy, but that focal range of 35-75 is perfect for what I like to do, shooting cars and detail shots around cars. I also like to shoot long, especially for landscapes. As some of you will know, one of my favorite lenses for my R5 was the 100-500. Now, I can't find anything comparable to that for anything resembling a reasonable price for the Hasselblad. So I have this Leica R-mount lens, 80-200 f4 with the photo diox adapter. And it's a full manual lens, no autofocus, no EXIF data pass through to the camera, but this is just such a precise instrument. It's so beautifully made. And this one's in gorgeous condition. It cost me under $1,000. This has definitely been one of my favorite lenses, and some of my favorite landscape photos so far have been taken with this lens in New Zealand and Australia. The other favorite is this one, the Voigtlander 21mm f1.4, I think it is, the Nocton. Yeah, f1.4. Both of these lenses cause a bit of vignetting on the X2D, but you've got so many megapixels there, you can just crop the edges of those. And if you're shooting 1:1 or you're shooting X-Pan, then generally the vignettes don't really affect the image anyway. But I don't mind cropping, get back a little bit if necessary. And certainly with shooting long, I like to usually crop in a bit anyway, so that's fine. I've also taken some of my favorite images with this 21. It is beautiful, absolutely pin sharp. Colours that come through it, just gorgeous. So I love this 21. And the other one, which is a bit of an outlier, which I haven't used very much at all yet, is the Voigtlander f2.0 Apo lens. This is one of the sharpest 50mm lenses you can buy for any camera, and its reputation is right up there with Leica's own 50mm lenses. So I absolutely love this thing and I plan to use it more. It's just that because I have the 35-75 range on the Hasselblad lens, I tend to just, defer to that. But I'd love to shoot some more images of cars and people with this, and so that's what I'm going to do. So that's my favorite lenses. I also have a 180mm f2.8 Leica R-mount lens, and that is also extremely good. Very sharp, nice and bright with the f2.8 aperture. I've put a Leica 2x extender on that to experiment with using that as a 360mm lens, and I plan to do a little bit more of that. But that one doesn't get used as much as these three here, the 35-75, 21, and 80-200, with the 50 coming in at the rear. All right, so that's my favorite lenses so far with those. I also have a 15mm Voigtlander M-mount lens, which I've used on the Hasselblad a little bit, but there's just, to my eye, there's just way too much distortion and vignetting, and I don't think I have much of a use case for that. If I end up buying a Leica M11 one day, which I'm kind of starting to get a bit of a hankering for, thanks to this little D-LUX whetting my appetite, then that will get called into service, and I think I'll just hang on to that. It's such a cute, tiny little lens. I think I'll just keep it just to look at it until I finally get an M one day. All right, so that's been my favorite lenses with the X2D. And like I said, there'll be a review coming up at some point on the 35-75. And I don't think I'll do a separate review on the other ones. I think I've kind of covered those in a recent video. Okay, now something else I wanted to do, and this is important because I haven't done this enough, and I think I should have done it more often, is there's a few people that I really want to thank who have subscribed to this channel and been active on this channel throughout my journey. These are the kinds of people who take time out of their day to watch my videos on a regular basis and leave often very insightful and heartfelt comments on the videos that I make. And I value that enormously because I know we're all busy. I know we all have limited time. And I know it takes extra effort to sit and think about what you've watched and then offer, some kind of valuable comment or insight into what you've seen. So to that end, some specific people that I really want to thank who've been around for a long time include Juanita Kelly, John Bentley, Paul Fuller, Chris Cummins, and Chris from A Kiwi in the Camera. Chris, I don't know your surname, sorry, so that's how I'm identifying you. A couple of other people. I'm also tremendously grateful for the endless encouragement of fellow photographers, Peter Varag, who's here in Australia, here in Melbourne, and Michael Scott from Scotty Man Photo. Both of these guys are also on YouTube. Lovely guys, both of them. And I've been following Michael pretty much since he started on YouTube, and he's developed his skills enormously. In terms of YouTube, I mean, he's been a great photographer for as long as I've seen his work, but he's come a long way on YouTube. And Peter Varag's macro photography is just next level. I mean, the guy should be on National Geographic. So if you want to see really spectacular macro photography, go and check out Peter Verhagen. If you want to see beautiful images of landscapes in Texas, and it's not all open and flat like you might think it is, then look up Scotty Man Photo. So that's those guys. Now, there are a couple of other very special people who've cheered me on since before I started YouTube, from my blogging days. Those people include Tina in Canada, Troy Sweezy in Washington, Teresa Hendricks in Wisconsin, Rebecca Holloway in Montana, and Denise Kelly in British Columbia. I appreciate you guys for being there with me since even before I started this channel. Your support means an awful lot, and I appreciate every time I read a comment from any of you. I also have to acknowledge the unwavering support of two of my greatest mentors and friends. The first one is Ken Fife. I've known Ken for about 27 years. He used to be my boss many years ago, but we've remained firm friends since he retired as chairman of the board. And Ken has always offered the quiet, calm, and wise counsel that me as a young bloke needed at various times of my life, often completely unrelated to work. And he's been a champion and a really vocal supporter of the work that I've done since I started blogging and since I started YouTube as well. So I really appreciate Ken. And the other one is my dad, who's done all of that and a whole lot more my entire life. It was my dad that actually encouraged me to submit my first stories to Trail and Track magazine when I was a teenager, a spotty-nosed teenager. He was the one that encouraged me to go back to them when they were sold to a large corporation to try again. And that secured me my first full-time job shooting motorcycles and cars and titans of the motor racing and motor manufacturing industry. So, you know, without my dad's encouragement, I would never have experienced those incredible days photographing Diablos and F40s and, you know, Wayne Gardner and Peter Brock and learning how to drive fast from a Formula One champion, Alan Jones, all that cool stuff I got to do, hanging out of a helicopter 6 feet off the deck, shooting the Australian Safari. All of that happened was because my dad believed in me and encouraged me to give it a go. And my dad's been encouraging me ever since. So these two blokes, more than any, have shaped my values. They've strengthened my moral compass, and they've given me the belief that I could make a difference with the work that I do. So it's thanks to them, really, that I'm here talking to you. Okay, on to the stuff that I want to give away and sell very cheaply. Now, I'm going to put these in the description below so you can scroll down and check them out. But every now and again, I like to go through the gear that I've got, and sometimes I sell it on eBay, but if I can, I prefer to sell it very cheaply to somebody that I know that could benefit from it, or give it away. So I've got I've got actually quite a few very good quality KNF concept filters, including some of their Pro Series ones here. So I'm happy to give these ones away. I just recently rebought again, the RF 24-105 L lens, the f4 lens, for shooting video outdoors. So now I've got the slightly less expensive one, the 24-105, what is it? F4 to 7.1 IS STM lens in perfect condition. This one I'm going to sell for a very cheap price. You'll see the details in the description below. Same deal with the X6, Tascam X6 stereo recorder. The Porta Capture. This is a brilliant device if you want to shoot really high quality audio out in the field. This is a fantastic field recorder. But because I travel with so much gear and I like to travel as light as possible, when the Zoom H1 Essential 32-bit, this is a 32-bit float recorder, which is what attracted me to it. When the Zoom one came out, which is pretty much the same size as the previous one, the H1N, then I decided that I wouldn't use the X6 anymore. I would use the H1 Essential. So now I also have the Zoom H1N, which I'm also happy to give away to someone. who gives me a reason to. I also had the little, what is it? The Sony, not an XC1. God, I should have researched this before I got on the camera, shouldn't I? But the little Sony compact camera for shooting video, I had one of those for a little while. ZVE1. Anyway, they've got a great little stereo mic, which goes on the top of that. So you don't need a cord. It just, interfaces with a hot shoe. You can also run it off 3.5mm. But this gorgeous little stereo microphone was great for getting separation for left and right channel for good quality sort of atmospheric stereo recordings. So I think I'll give that away as well. I don't think I'll bother putting a price on that. So there's that. The Rode NTG microphone. That's a very good quality microphone, but I've got so many damn microphones, more than enough, that this is surplus to my needs, so I don't need that. I think there's a couple of other things. Oh yeah. Another two things that I'm happy to give away. What is this? KNF Concept Nano X 43mm variable ND. I bought this for my RF 50mm 1.8 lens for shooting video. So I don't need that anymore because I'm not using the 50 to shoot video. Now, this has been sitting around for a while, and this is the first manual film camera that I bought in decades. And it's a little Nikon FE, is it? Are you an FE? What are you? I think you're an FE. No, Nikon EM, sorry. An EM film camera. I don't really have a need for this. I've since gone on and bought an FE2, which is my my first semi-pro level camera that I ever bought. So I've got one of those now. I never owned one of these before, so it's not really a sentimental purchase for me. I just bought it on a whim a while ago. So if anybody wants that, it's in pretty good nick. It's got some brassing on the back where the film label goes. But other than that, it's in pretty good nick. At least I think it is. It certainly fires and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, that all looks good. So if somebody wants a trip down memory lane and wants a bit of nostalgia, you're welcome to have this EM as well. I think that's it. There's got to be some other stuff that I've got to get rid of as well, but that's it for now anyway. So have a look down in the description below and it will list the prices for the two things that I'm selling. Everything else I'm happy to give away. And all I ask is that you leave a comment and tell me why you would like it and how it might help you. That's all. And if you're one of the first and I like your reason, then I'll send it your way. Oh, one thing I do want to say about this, if you are one of the people that I mentioned earlier, then you get first dibs on any of this stuff. I'm going to wait a few days. So if any of you that I mentioned wants any of these items that I've listed in the description below, and you come in on the first or second day and there's somebody else who wants those, then you guys get first dibs on them because you've supported me since the beginning and I want to support you back. Okay, finally, I would love to do a Q&A. I've never done a Q&A on this channel and I think it would be fun. Now, I'm fairly small fry when it comes to YouTube channels, so there may not be very much interest in my life or my photography to ask me any questions, but I do get quite a few questions in the comment section of my videos, so I'm assuming that some people want to know something that perhaps I haven't covered in a video. So given that I've been a photographer for 40 odd years, commercially since 1986, shooting cars and landscapes and people, mostly cars and landscapes. If you have any questions about that, then leave a question below and I'll add that to the list of the questions that I'll answer in a future video. You're also welcome to ask me about any of the gear that I use. You're welcome to ask about my experience as a 56-year-old YouTuber, if that interests you at all, or anything else that you see fit. I'm happy to answer anything, providing it's not too crazy or personal. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Okay, so if you are new here, if this is the first video of mine that you're seeing, I feel sorry for you, but I think you're okay. So anyway, if you are new here, if this is the first video of mine that you're ever watching, then you're a much more patient person than me, and I kind of feel sorry for you. Go and watch some of my other videos. They're a whole lot better than this one. But thank you for dropping by. If, on the other hand, you've been around for a while, subscribed to this channel, and you've been watching my videos for a while and you've never left a comment below, then drop into the comment section and say hi. I'd love to hear from you. And finally, if you want a few more snippets of car and landscape photography value, then subscribe to my occasional newsletter. It's called One More Thing. I don't write it every week or every fortnight. Sometimes I'll even skip a month or two before I write one again. But I try to make sure that there's value in there. So if you want to hear from me occasionally via email, very non-spammy, then you'll find a link down in the description below to subscribe to that. Anyway, this therapy session has been good for me. Hopefully you got something out of it. Maybe you'll get some gear out of it. Who knows? But I appreciate you sticking around and watching this, and I hope to see you again in a future video. Take care of yourselves. Get outside, take some photos. See you next time. Bye.